Today, I wanted to show you, number one, the story about the British being the first people here is a lie. Many more came before. This place, Australia, was the centre of the world in ancient times. They all came here the same way the Muslims go to Mecca as basically a religious statement. They came to Australia as it was the Mecca of ancient times. And what were they seeking? The wisdom of not just the original people, but the mob up there. And how do we know they were there? Because I just proved it. And that's what this story is about. In a nutshell, that's the real beginning of history in Australia. The first continent, the first people come from Australia. The Africans, do you realise the Africans have virtually no Neanderthal or Denisovan genes in them? But they're supposed to be the oldest race. And did you know the oldest hominids are not found in Africa? They're found in Siberia, 9 million years old. In Albania, in Greece, 7 million years old. In Africa, 3 million years old, maybe 4. So when you say hominids began in Africa, that's wrong. When you say that the Africans are the beginning of all Homo sapiens, and therefore Neanderthals and Denisovans evolved in Africa first, well, there's no genes there. You know who's got the highest Denisovan genes in the world? Australian original people. And the Denisovans never lived in Australia. They lived in Europe and Asia. All these are truths. So this is our real story.
So basically, Evan, do you think there's a tie, and Stephen, to some of the ancient, like Aboriginal artwork with the big faces and the black eyes? Do you think they are the skulls that we're looking at? Is that the same sort of thing?
Yeah, like the Wandjina ones. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a link there because that particular being was found in 4 different places we know of in Australia.
Yeah, 4 different tribal areas. One's in the desert in South Australia, one's on the coast near Warrnambool, and 2 are inland. So it's not a mutation. We know of 4.
And you also mentioned the arm bone. I know in the videos you didn't have time to talk about just then, but it was like it's a very long, skinny one. So does that suggest it's like the typical grey alien with like the real big head and long, skinny arms and legs?
Not greys, but it does suggest, because actually what I didn't mention was the arm, the femur, the humerus bone. Ours is around 28 to 30. This one was 43, but I didn't have the elbow joint, so it's got to be at least 45, 46. Gibbons are 35, and it's incredibly thin, very, very thin. So therefore, nature has made the longest limbs of any animal on the planet, but it doesn't work. You can't play tennis with it. You can't do a thing with it. It's too thin.
And if you have those long, skinny arms and legs, but then we have that incredibly thick skull, that would suggest it's very heavy. So does that play into...
No, that thick skull comes from a different group.
Okay.
The one we're talking about comes from this one, right? That's the one that's got the thin arms. So we've got 2 different alien groups there alongside one another.
So you genuinely believe that they are actually proof, if we were able to get them DNA tested, that they would be, anything that we've found here sort of unexplained?
Absolutely, because look at the features of it.
Yeah.
That will be in the DNA that creates those features. We don't have those features. We don't have eyes like that.
I mean, it'd be interesting because there is an unknown component of Australian original genes that's unknown.
So, it can't be identified in any hominid.
Interesting if they could be matched.
There will be some of the DNA in this will be in us, because we've got a strand that doesn't relate to any hominid that's been found, and they call it the mystery strand. It's not. It's the Pleiadian strand. And there will be, if I ever get this analysed. Remember, I want to do science. The government is blocking me. I went to a university. They looked at it and said, let's do it. And then they blocked it.
So you believe that if extraterrestrials or some other advanced species came here, that we were somehow genetically engineered, or do you like to lean into the interbreeding kind of theory, or where are you at with it all?
Both.
Both categories. Yeah, and I think you'd find there are different spots around the world where that's happened as well. Other places, when you get into the more Anunnaki stuff and all that. So I think it's happened several places at several different points in time all around the world.
And on the carry-on glyphs on the second panel, It's about genetics. There's one of the genes being split in half, and there's a being that grows that starts with just 3 circles, which, by the way, means chemistry in Proto-Egyptian. It's just got 3 circles, a head and 3 circles. Then it's got arms in another one. Then another one's got arms with 2 pyramids in it, and it grows.
Yeah.
And I believe that's about the creation of humanity.
I've also had some friends who are close with First Nations people and they talk about a lot of these national parks, like you said, the kind of areas that they're getting more and more off limits to the public. But I've heard that around Kakadu and all up in the Northern Territory, there's huge regions that are all off limits to the public, and there's even maybe even remnants of old pyramids or just structures there and stuff. Have you guys heard similar to all that?
Oh God, yeah. We know of. We've read a story about an ancient city with 100-foot walls, and read a story about a person who went and saw this place. And people can only find it if they're meant to. There are all sorts of stories about stuff like that. Look, I'll tell you something else. When I started doing archaeology at UNE, which is in Armidale, and I wanted to do it the 4-year course, when we got there the first day, there was a guy that got up at the start and said this: there are pyramids all over Australia, but we don't talk about it. And I thought they were joking. I thought he was just having a bad day. But when I did my second year, end of year study, and I did a piece on some pyramids, a pyramid I saw in the Nightcap Range, and it was 3,000 rocks. It was on a road on the side of a mountain like that. I said, God Almighty, this is Egyptian. I wrote that paper and put it in to be marked, and they wrote back and refused to mark it. And I still remember how it started. It started with, I hate to be a party pooper. And then they went on to say, you can put in anything. Well, pass anything, but don't give us that. We won't look at it. So, yes, that's true.